coaching program. This is a 2-day in-person workshop that is located in Scottsdale, Arizona, and will be running from March 21st to the 22nd. And today we're going to be looking a little bit about the workshop and discussing what financial educator marketing is, why it's so advantageous for financial advisors to engage in it, and what advisors can learn and pick up from the workshop itself. So if you want to go ahead and learn more, all the details about the workshop, you can go to horsesmouth.com/liftoffaz. And a link to that will be in the description of where you are watching this now. So I am joined by Sean Bailey, Horse's Mouth editor in chief and the leader of the Financial Educator Marketing Coaching Program. Sean, I wonder if we can start high level, if you could just define for us what financial educator marketing is and what advisors do who are engaging in it.
Right. Thanks, Doug. Yeah. So it's education marketing is another term that's used. And the idea is you're going to build your business over time by first becoming comfortable with presenting yourself as a financial educator. How are you doing that? By putting on presentations in your community around the most important topics that really mostly, pre-retirees and retirees. There are other topics people are interested in and people are presenting on, and that's also financial education as well. But what it is you go out into your community, you engage in a variety of different marketing efforts to invite people to come to a presentation. The presentations are typically dealing with some very sticky problem that relates to some aspect of personal finance. You make a, non-salesy, fully educational presentation on that topic. All of the topics that we have created here at Horse's Mouth, the presentations, are all designed and optimized for the end of the presentation when you invite the attendees to come in for a one-on-one meeting to discuss this particular problem as it relates to their specific situation. And that is the manner in which people meet new prospects, have discovery meetings, bring them on board as clients, deepen the relationship over time, continuing to act as a financial educator to their clients. That then generates referrals, and it becomes a sort of virtuous, circle or cycle.
And so, what makes financial education marketing so advantageous over other forms of marketing?
Well, for one thing, you get to there's no pressure personal connection with people. People see you in action, whether they see you on a webinar or a series of webinars, or whether they see you in person in a, conference room at a library or at a, hall room at a church or whatever the case may be. And so, people are able to size you up. You're able to size them up as well. You're able to look people in the eye, shake their hands, and show them you're a real human being who's genuinely interested in helping people with the solutions to the problems you're actually presenting about, whether that's college education or IRA planning or good tax planning or Social Security or Medicare, estate and generational planning. All those topics are topics that the public seems to be very interested in learning more about. And I should say, studies have shown since the late 1990s, time and time again, the public expects financial advisors to educate them. They don't want to be sold to, but they do want to be educated. And so when you position yourself as the financial educator and you build the systems and the strategy around that, you build a strategy of how to put on the presentations, and then you build a system within your firm on how to optimize getting people to come to the event. And then after the event is over, optimize how you get people to come into the office effectively and then on board them ultimately.
And advisors that we've worked with are having a lot of success with this. I think we should.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
very real, they're growing growth opportunities through this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the really interesting thing about it. We say in our marketing, want to add 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million or more in new A. We're going to show you how to do it. That sounds like a big promise. And, you know, it's one we've delivered on consistently since 2017. And we've had many advisors, come into the program. But why 5 million versus 20 million, right? Well, it's all about what you want to do with your business, to what degree you want to commit to a strategy, what your particular goals are in terms of, some people probably couldn't add 20 million in new A, assuming that it's going to be from, you know, 28 new accounts with 1 million each, because it takes a lot to metabolize that within your staff, right? Some people are maybe just looking for, adding 5 million in new aid, but others have bigger ambitions. They have bigger teams and they can get up into the 10 or 15 range. And believe me, over the years and in our program, we study cases of people who are, succeeding at all these different levels. And there are some people who succeed in the 30, even $40 million a year range. They typically have big teams and they've been doing it for a few years. They've gotten really good at it. This is their primary marketing vehicle, and they just enjoy, tremendous growth. And the thing about it is when you position yourself as a financial educator, you are able to understand, all the various moving parts. Then you can, pretty much dial in after about a year or so, you can pretty much dial in what you want your growth to be in the next year or so based on the number of in-person and virtual webinar events you're doing every year on certain topics. And it gives you, amazing power over your own ability to grow your business. And so, that's part of what the program's all about.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that it gives you a repeatable system to keep going with. So you're never in doubt about what you're going to do to market your business. You've got this repeatable system at play, and I don't think we can overstate the importance of that.
Yeah. And when I've been doing this, created this program in 2016, been delivering, I think, since 2017. And it is the key aspect of it is that when you come into our program, now the next one is for 2 days in Scottsdale. At the end of the 2 days, you're going to have a 12-month financial educator marketing strategy plan on one page. Okay. So it's easy to absorb, easy to execute on. And we're going to step you through all examining all the different aspects, the topics, the venues, the marketing strategies. Then we get really deeply into analyzing literally how you present. We get in and deconstruct everything that the financial advisor does when putting on an educational event, right? That from like your opening to your introduction to the kinds of promises and tactics you engage in at the beginning of the presentation. Then we get into analyzing the manner in which you're delivering key elements of the presentation. And of course, right through to the closing and how you're, because that's the most critical part of the presentation is the closing. And we've done a variety of things along the way to absolutely optimize your audience to accept your invitation to come in for a no charge, no pressure follow-up meeting on whatever the topic is. But we like break all this down. And, so you learn all that in 2 days. Then, and what's different about this, slightly different about this program than when we started originally, is that after we finish on Friday afternoon in Scottsdale, we're going to continue to meet. It's a financial educator marketing coaching program. And so we're going to continue to meet virtually once a week for the following 8 weeks after the workshop. So that the one thing we've identified over the years, sometimes advisors go to intensive 2 days. It's fantastic. You get a lot of great information. You get back to the office, you want to get to it, but then you're pulled this way or pulled that way. And so we thought we wanted some post-event continuity that allows us to continue to develop a relationship, because in the first 2 days, there's a lot of exposition, a lot of information coming from me as we're going through a variety of case studies and just examining all these topics with the completion of the plan, the draft of the plan at the end of the 2 days. But then in the following 8 weeks, we'll meet on Zoom as a private coaching group, and we'll be able to dive in more deeply on whatever particular struggles or challenges or wins, great expectations that happen, great transfer of information among the attendees on topics around being financial educator, but also on peripheral topics as well, relating to the marketing, the follow-up, client service. And so, it's a great hybrid experience, frankly. And what we want people to be able to do is then go home and, that first week back, start the meeting with your team and looking at your calendar. By then you'll pick what key topics you want to present on. You'll be able to look ahead and start, deciding, am I going to do webinars or in-person events or a combination of both? And then, every usually Fridays we meet for an hour as a group and, hash things out, see how it's going, hear people's results, which is always fun. We had an advisor the other day who has been getting good attendance to webinars he's been putting on, but has been having low signups for his appointments. And we talked about changing some things. And the next week he came back and said, holy, I'm getting a ton of appointments now. We used to get two or three, and now I'm getting seven or eight. And, it's partly the result of some of the things that we discussed in the workshop and things that he learned. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun for everybody too. And that's still like, we got to have fun with this, right? It's not, we don't
Yeah.
want anybody to be feeling like you're on a forced march to add new clients. We want to, find people who feel comfortable, who can see themselves professionally as being an educator, who can create a sort of mental framework that, yes, this is my prospecting in essence, going out into the community on fire with desire to educate people on these key topics and meet new people. And everybody who does it, people really seem to enjoy it. And listen, we only go around once in life, and so you're in this business, you want to bring in new assets and new clients, well, we want to have fun doing it too, right?
Yeah. Turns out adding new business is pretty fun. Yeah. So who would you say is the ideal attendee of the workshop? Is it somebody who, just getting started, somebody who has gotten their feet a bit wet?
Yeah, that's it's funny you should mention that because it's really a sort of mixture of it. Yeah, having done this now for quite a few years. One particular type of person who immediately comes to mind are advisors who've been in the business for quite a while, and many of whom actually even used to do this to build their business, but then they stopped doing it and they realize for whatever reason they want to re-energize themselves, they want new growth, they want something new. And so, one significant percentage are advisors who have a fair amount of tenure in the business. They are veterans, but they just stopped doing what they had been doing in the past, and they come back, come to the workshop, get reacquainted, get re-energized. Other types are people maybe a little newer, who've never done it before, but who've thought, this is something I think I really want to get into, or feel like, you know, this is a sleeve of my marketing that I definitely think I can add. And but they don't really know where to start. And so they're attracted by coming in and seeing, you know, all the tools and all the programs and everything that we have here at Horse's Mouth that become available to them if they choose to go through the workshop and then put on one of our programs as one of their chief topics that they're going to be a financial educator about. Like a lot of people still do Social Security and Medicare, which has been a sort of gateway topic for many advisors since 2008 and is going to continue to be that way. In fact, 2024 is the first of a 3-year peak in boomers. Absolute highest number of people turning 65 will happen this year, next year, and the year after before it starts to trail down some as the smaller Gen X crew comes in. But regardless, I mean, those Gen Xers, 55 and above, leading edge Gen Xers are above 55 now. Plenty of people, once they start hitting 55, want to, attracted to the idea of, yeah, I'd like to get more knowledgeable about Social Security and Medicare. And so they start showing up at these presentations. And so my point is for anybody who's going to be in this business for 5 more years or for 15 more years, learning that, bringing on board, you know, the strategy of being a financial educator is just going to pay dividends for years to come. And of course, the other big thing, that we talk about in the program is the rise of webinars, right? We've been doing this program since 2017. Then the pandemic came in 2020. And up until then, every now and then somebody would say, hey, can I, in person's good and everything, but can I do this as a webinar? And frankly, anyone was doing it. And frankly, I was not really, I kind of felt like you needed a decent email list to repeatedly put on webinars. But then some other things changed in the marketplace around marketing. And what we discovered during the pandemic is that people can be very, very successful putting on webinars in addition to in person or entirely, solely being a webinar person. The numbers and the numbers are different, but once you accept that, the there's a lot of great qualities about putting on a regular financial educator webinar series, including the fact that you can become very highly efficient and can take a lot less time. And then you learn, how to optimize your marketing and how you optimize getting people to accept your invitation for that follow-up meeting, it can become very, very cost efficient as well. So that's another topic we deal with in the program.
Okay. So people can go to horsesmouth.com/liftoff where there is a full agenda of the workshop. But did you want to kind of go through, kind of walk us down the path of what the workshop covers at a high level?
Yeah, sure. So, I was mentioning before, it's literally kind of A to Z. And, we start with what is the promise or opportunity for being a financial educator? And then from there, we look at, okay, so what are the hot topics? And we look at like, more than 20 different topics that are out there that are available for advisors. We look at the pros and cons of each of those topics, and including, you know, the pivot meaning coming out of this topic, what is going to be that follow-on meeting going to be about that can then position you to make deeper connections and possibly bring them on as a client. And then we look at venues, right? So venues, there's all in-person place, there's a whole range of types of venues that people have. Some people put on dinner events, some people put on things in their own office, all these different things. So we look at the pros and cons and examine some case studies around the venues. Then we get into webinars. We're doing the whole, webinars is okay. So you're going to do webinars. You want to do them right, do them well. We look at some of the equipment that's involved and how to get started quickly. Then we get into sort of fuller marketing strategy, taking a deeper dive into direct mail, and then similarly another deep dive into social media marketing. And then from there, we go into my favorite aspect of the programs, really um, probably about 2.5 hours worth, where it's called Delivering Compelling Presentations. And it's an absolute deep dive on public speaking, on how you interact with your audience during the presentation, understanding how to, deal with the emotions of your audience as well, how to make those kind of connections, all the way to the close, where we look at, both a technical close and an emotional close. We look at follow up and what the follow up strategies are. And that kind of gets you, and we look at some sort of niche approaches like presenting to CPAs and other professionals. And we go through all these modules. There's about a dozen, I think. And at the end of each module, we take a few minutes out, we answer some questions, how people are feeling about their particular strategy. And then in the very last session of the workshop, we kind of go back and look at the questions we've answered relating to each one of these modules and kind of map them onto a one-page marketing strategy that becomes your go-to sheet for the next 12 months. And it will also be the, the sort of foundation of the 8-week coaching that follows on after it. So that's kind of the program in a nutshell.
Okay, great. Yeah. And again, this is a 2-day in person workshop, the Financial Educator Marketing Coaching Program. That's going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 21st and the 22nd. Sean, is there anything you wanted to mention before we go ahead and say goodbye for
Yeah,
today?
well, there is one other thing. If you're on the fence about coming and you happen to be a baseball fan, well, there's a lot of baseball games in and around the Scottsdale area. I think they call it the grapefruit season, right? They're there now, and there's usually tickets available, and you can go and see your favorite baseball teams as well. Kind of it's extended into a long weekend or come in a couple days beforehand, whatever the case may be. Scottsdale's, a great place, and we're looking forward to being back out there. So thanks so much.
Okay, great. Take care, everybody.